Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. We're looking at something pretty fascinating in the tech world today.
Yeah, really interesting stuff.
It all started with this Chinese AI lab.
Called DeepSeek, right?
Yeah, DeepSeek. They came out with this AI model, R1, and it's been turning heads. It's kind of crazy.
Well, everyone's been watching OpenAI and ChatGPT and all these others.
Right, and those are amazing, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah, they've really pushed things forward.
But this R1, it's matching ChatGPT in a lot of ways, performance-wise.
Yeah, I saw that. Even going beyond, right? Surpassing some of the big reasoning models like that O1.
It's wild. But here's a real kicker.
Okay, I'm listening.
They did it all for way less money and in way less time.
Real.
Way less. And they weren't even using the most powerful hardware. They didn't have those top-of-the-line GPUs everyone's fighting over.
Now that's interesting. That really challenges, all the assumptions about who can play in this AI game.
Right. It used to be like you needed billions of dollars in those super expensive GPUs just to even get in the door.
Yeah, like only the giants, OpenAI and Google, companies like that could even try.
Exactly. It's like DeepSeek decided to rewrite the rules. And they're not done shaking things up either.
Oh, what else did they do?
They made R1 open source.
Wow. That's a bold move.
Totally. So we're diving into all of that today. What DeepSeek is doing, what it means for the future of AI, and what it might mean for you. Because this is big.
It definitely is. I mean, it challenges the whole narrative, right?
Yeah, totally. It used to be that you needed massive resources.
Billions.
And the best GPUs, which, by the way, are not cheap.
Not at all.
But DeepSeek, they flipped the script.
They did. It's a classic David and Goliath situation,
Totally. You had those huge companies.
The Goliaths.
Yeah, the Goliaths. OpenAI, Google, Meta, all spending billions, all wanting those top-tier GPUs. It's an arms race.
And DeepSeek comes in with this whole other approach.
And it's working.
Yeah.
It's crazy how this all happened.
Yeah. What was it that triggered this? How did they pull it off?
Well, it's almost like they were forced into it. The U.S. put those sanctions on China, remember?
Right.
So DeepSeek couldn't get those high-end chips. They had to figure out a different way.
Necessity breeds innovation, I guess.
It really does.
Yeah.
And the things they came up with, it's pretty ingenious when you look at what we've got here in the reports. 60 days. That's all it took them to train R1.
60 days. Seriously.
Seriously. That's unheard of for something this sophisticated.
Yeah, usually these models take months, sometimes even years to train.
I know. And they did it all with this mix of clever techniques. They used something called floating 0.8-bit training, which basically lets them get high precision but use way less memory.
So they're squeezing every bit of performance they can out of the hardware.
Yeah. And then they use this blend of different expert models to make sure everything stayed stable during training. They even pulled in publicly available output from other models like ChatGPT to add to their training data.
So they're not just innovating on the technical side, they're finding creative ways to leverage existing resources, really thinking outside the box.
It's like they hacked the system, right? Like they found these loopholes and used them to their advantage.
Exactly. They turned a limitation into a strength. And that makes you wonder, could this spark a change across the whole industry?
That's the big question, right? Could DeepSeek's success lead other companies, even the ones with all the resources in the world, to start thinking differently?
To find ways to do more with less.
Yeah. It's like they've shown everyone a new path. And on top of all that, they made R1 open source.
Which is a whole other can of worms, right?
Right. So let's talk about that. Open source. What do you make of that decision?
Well, it's definitely a game changer. They're basically saying, here's our code, use it, modify it, share it. Anyone can do anything they want with it. No restrictions. It's bold.
Yeah, it is. It's like they're throwing open the doors for everyone. Developers, researchers, they can all jump in and start building on what DeepSeek's done. Imagine the potential.
It could really accelerate things. People building on each other's work, collaborating instead of competing.
Right. And it's not just about speed. It's about access.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. Especially for smaller companies and research groups. They can finally get their hands on something this powerful.
It's like a real equalizer. It gives everyone a chance to compete. But it also raises some questions.
Definitely.
This is a Chinese company, a company that could be influenced by the Chinese government. And they're making this incredibly powerful AI freely available.
It's a whole new set of considerations for sure.
Yeah, it's uncharted territory. Like, what does this mean for the future of AI? What happens when everyone has access to this kind of technology?
It's exciting, but it's also a little unnerving,
I know what you mean. And it makes you wonder, How are the big players reacting to all this? What does it mean for OpenAI, for example?
I mean, they're raising billions of dollars, right? But if DeepSeek can get similar results for a fraction of the cost, it really makes you think.
Does it change the game?
Maybe. Maybe those huge investments aren't the only way anymore. Maybe there's a different way to play. And this shift is happening at an interesting time because even the focus in AI is changing.
How so?
Well, it used to be all about building bigger, more powerful models, just scaling things up.
Right, bigger is better.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was the mindset. But now people are starting to realize that's not enough.
Like, we've hit a wall.
Maybe. Even Sam Altman from OpenAI, he's saying that just scaling up isn't the answer anymore.
Really?
Yeah, the focus now is on reasoning, on building AI that can actually think, that can understand and solve problems, not just recognize patterns.
So what happens now? Does DeepSeek follow suit? Do they try to make R1 better at reasoning?
It seems likely, and if they do, it could lead to AI that's much cheaper to run, much more accessible. It's hard to predict how this is all going to play out.
It's a wild time for AI. And it raises even more questions when you consider the issue of censorship.
Right.
We've seen the DeepSeek's R1, like some other Chinese AI models,
Mm-hmm.
tends to avoid certain topics, the things that are sensitive in China. Which makes sense, but
It raises concerns about control, right?
exactly. Like, even if the code is open source, who controls the data that it's trained on? What biases are baked in? And if R1 becomes this global standard, what does that mean for the information people have access to?
Yeah, if a Chinese-developed AI becomes the go-to model for the world, there are definitely some big questions about freedom of information, about how narratives are shaped. It's something we need to think about.
Definitely. So much to consider here. So, with all of this happening, what are some things people should be thinking about? What does DeepSeek's rise and all these changes mean for us?
Well, I think the big takeaway is that DeepSeek has really shaken things up. They've shown that the old assumptions about AI, about who can play and how it's done, they don't necessarily hold anymore.
It's a wake-up call for sure.
And it's not just about technology, you know? It's about how limitations can lead to incredible innovation.
It's inspiring, in a way.
It is. It shows that even when you're faced with constraints, you can still achieve amazing things. DeepSeek didn't have access to the best chips, so they found a way to do more with less. They turned it into an advantage.
It's a good reminder that ingenuity can come from anywhere, and it makes the future of AI even more exciting and unpredictable.
It's definitely a story worth watching. DeepSeek's story, it makes you think about more than just the technology itself.
It's bigger than that.
It really is. Like, what does AI actually mean for society? How do we fit into all of this? How do we deal with this stuff that's changing so fast?
It's a lot to wrap your head around.
Absolutely. And one of those big things, right? Jobs. Everyone worries about AI taking over jobs.
Yeah, that's always the big fear, isn't it?
It is, and it's a valid concern, especially now with AI getting more and more powerful, able to do more of the things humans do. What happens to the workforce?
What do we do?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's been around for a while, but it feels more urgent now. AI could definitely automate a lot of jobs, but it also could create new ones. It's not a simple equation.
It's more complicated than just saying robots are taking over it.
Way more complicated. It's about shifts, about changes, and making sure people have the skills to adapt to those changes.
So it's not necessarily about losing jobs, but about what those jobs look like.
Exactly. We have to adapt, we have to prepare, think about education, think about training programs. How do we equip people for this new world where AI is everywhere?
Right, because the tech itself isn't good or bad. It's all about how we use it.
Exactly. And that brings up another huge thing we have to think about with AI ethics. As AI gets more powerful, as it gets embedded in our lives, we have to be really careful about how it's developed.
Make sure it's being used responsibly.
Absolutely. We need fairness, we need transparency, we need people to be accountable for how this stuff is used. And speaking of fairness and transparency, think about what we were saying about DeepSeek R1.
And those sensitive topics that it avoids.
Exactly. If AI is trained on data that's already been filtered, already been controlled, then what it tells us, what it creates, is going to reflect that.
Right, it's going to have those same biases built in.
It's inevitable. And that's a big deal, right? Because AI has the potential to shape how we see the world, how we understand things. And if that information is controlled, if certain viewpoints are excluded, that's a problem.
It limits our understanding.
It does. It can even be used to manipulate people, to control what they think. It's scary stuff.
So how do we prevent that? How do we make sure AI is ethical no matter where it comes from?
Well, transparency is key. We have to know how these systems are trained, what data they're using. We need to be able to see the code, understand how these algorithms work, how they make decisions.
So we can spot those biases.
Exactly, and hold people accountable. And it can't just be one country or one company doing this. It has to be a global effort.
Everyone working together.
Absolutely. We need international collaboration because AI, it doesn't stop at borders. It affects everyone.
Some people are saying that DeepSeek, with their open source approach, could actually be a good thing for all of this.
I've heard that too. The idea is that if everyone has access to the code, if there's more collaboration, less secrecy, it could actually lead to more ethical AI.
More checks and balances.
Right. It forces everyone to be more open, more transparent, and it could lead to a more diverse AI ecosystem with more people from different backgrounds contributing.
So instead of a few big companies controlling everything, it's more democratized.
Exactly. And that could be a really good thing. Because then maybe, just maybe, the focus shifts from just making money to actually making AI that benefits everyone.
More about values, less about profit.
It's a possibility. It's definitely an interesting idea.
So much is changing so fast, it's hard to keep up.
I know. And the changes are happening everywhere. Think about how we experience AI in our everyday lives. It's already all around us.
Like those personalized recommendations we were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Netflix, Spotify, even Amazon. It's all powered by AI. These algorithms know our tastes, know what we like, and it's not just about entertainment either. AI is being used in healthcare, in finance, everywhere.
It's changing how we live.
And it's not just about making things more convenient or efficient. AI is transforming entire industries. Think about healthcare. AI is analyzing medical images, helping doctors make diagnoses. It's predicting patient outcomes, helping us personalize treatments. It's even assisting with surgery.
It's incredible.
It really is. And it has the potential to make healthcare so much better, so much more effective.
But there are still those concerns.
Of course. Every powerful technology comes with risks.
Like we were talking about before, with jobs. Yeah. And with bias in algorithms and privacy, that's a big one too.
You're right. We can't just ignore those risks. We have to be mindful. It's about finding that balance, right?
Yeah.
Harnessing the power of AI, but doing it responsibly.
And that means we have to be informed. We have to understand this stuff, how it works, what the implications are.
Exactly. Conversations like this are so important. We need to be talking about this, exploring the complexities, so we can make good decisions, both as individuals and as a society.
So we can shape the future of AI rather than just letting it happen to us.
Exactly. We have a choice. We have a voice. Let's use them. And let's talk about a really interesting area where AI is making waves: creativity.
Oh, yeah, that's fascinating. AI making art? Composing music, even writing scripts.
I know, right? It's crazy. And these AI tools are getting really good. So good that it's making people question what creativity even means anymore.
Is it still art if a machine made it?
That's the question. Some people say it's just mimicking, just copying patterns. But others see it as a collaboration. Like, the AI can spark new ideas, push human artists in new directions.
And some of the stuff AI is creating is amazing. I've seen AI-generated art that's just stunning. Music that's really moving. It's blurring the lines.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's not just about art and music either. AI is being used in design, in architecture. It's changing how we create things.
And it raises such profound questions. Like, if an AI can create something that evokes emotion, is that not creativity?
It's a question that philosophers have been debating for centuries. And now AI is making it even more complicated. Some people say true creativity needs intent, needs consciousness.
A machine can't feel, can't have those deep motivations.
But then again, human artists, they draw inspiration from everywhere. They see patterns, they remix, they build on what came before. So is AI doing something fundamentally different? I don't know. It's fascinating to think about.
It's a conversation that's not going away anytime soon.
Definitely not. And as AI gets even more sophisticated, things are only going to get more interesting, more challenging.
It makes you think about all the ways AI is reshaping the world.
It does. And one of those ways is on the global stage. We can't talk about AI without talking about geopolitics.
The U.S. and China, that rivalry is at the heart of so much of this.
It is. Both countries want to be the leader in AI. And DeepSeek's emergence, that's added fuel to the fire.
It shifted the balance a little, made people realize that the U.S. isn't the only game in town anymore.
It's shown that China is a serious contender. And some people are saying that the U.S., with those sanctions on China, they might have actually backfired.
By trying to hold China back, they pushed them to innovate even faster.
Exactly. It's like they created their own competition. And this isn't just about bragging rights. AI is about power. It's about economic dominance, military strength. It's about who gets to shape the future.
High stakes.
Incredibly high. And it's not just about the US and China either. Other countries are investing heavily in AI. The whole world is changing.
It's a complex landscape with all these different players, all these different motivations.
Absolutely. And AI adds another layer of complexity. We're in uncharted territory. And the decisions being made now, they have huge consequences. They will shape the future for better or for worse.
And it's easy to get lost in all of that, in the technology, the competition, the power dynamics.
And forget the most important thing.
The human element.
Yeah. Exactly. AI, it's not this force that exists on its own. It's a tool. It's something we created. It reflects us, our values, our flaws, our aspirations.
We're the ones shaping it.
We are.
Yeah.
And that means we have a responsibility to shape it well, to make sure it's used for good. We can't just leave these decisions to governments and big tech companies.
And you have to be part of the conversation.
We do. We have to be informed. We have to be vocal. We have to demand transparency, accountability. We have to make sure AI is used to enhance our lives, not control them.
It's about working together, all of us. Not just technologists, but ethicists, social scientists, artists, everyone.
That's how we build a future where AI benefits everyone, where it helps us create a more just, more equitable world. It's a huge challenge, but it's also an incredible opportunity.
It's about shaping the future we want to see.
And that's a conversation that needs to happen now.
And we're back. It's the final part of our deep dive into all things AI.
Can you believe how much we've covered already? It's mind-blowing, really.
It is. We started with DeepSeek, that whole David and Goliath story. Then we got into the big picture stuff, ethics, jobs, the impact on society, heavy stuff.
Really makes you think.
It does. But now I think it's time to bring it all back down to earth a little.
Get a little more practical.
Exactly. Let's look at some real-world examples of how AI is already changing things we see every day.
One area where AI is having a huge impact is personalization.
Oh, yeah. That's everywhere now.
It really is. Think about Netflix, Spotify, all those recommendations you get. That's all AI. Those algorithms, they're analyzing what you watch, what you listen to, and then suggesting things they think you'll like.
It's like having a personal shopper for entertainment.
It is. And it's not just entertainment. AI is personalizing everything. Online shopping, fitness programs, even healthcare.
Healthcare, really?
Oh, yeah. Big time. AI is being used to analyze medical images, like X-rays and scans. It can help doctors spot things they might miss. And it can help predict how patients will respond to different treatments, so doctors can personalize those treatments, make them more effective.
That's incredible. AI is literally helping save lives.
It is. And it's not just healthcare. AI is transforming finance, too. It's detecting fraud, managing investments, assessing risks. It's making the whole financial system smarter and safer.
It's everywhere you look.
It really is. And then there's automation. AI is taking over tasks that humans used to do. Driving cars, running factories, all sorts of things, which, on the one hand, is great. It frees us up to focus on more creative, more meaningful work.
But it also brings up those concerns about jobs, right?
Of course. It's a trade-off. We have to be smart about how we manage this transition, make sure people are prepared for the changes, have the skills they need.
And that the benefits of AI are shared, not just concentrated in the hands of a few.
Exactly. And it's not just about jobs either. There are ethical implications to all of this, like with self-driving cars, for example. How do we program those cars to make decisions in tricky situations?
Really?
Like, if there's an unavoidable accident, who does the car choose to protect?
It's like a real-life trolley problem.
It is. Those are tough questions, and we need to have those conversations. We need to think about the ethics of AI, not just the technology itself.
Because it's a powerful tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. It's up to us to make sure AI is used for good, to make the world a better place.
That's the challenge and the opportunity. We have this incredible technology, but it's not going to solve all our problems on its own. We have to be thoughtful. We have to be proactive.
We have to shape the future we want to see.
Absolutely. And that starts with understanding what's happening, talking about it, asking tough questions. That's what we've been doing in this deep dive. And I hope it's given you some things to think about, some things to discuss with your friends and family, because this is a conversation that affects everyone. The AI revolution is happening, and we all need to be a part of it.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. Until next time, stay curious.